So surfers would say that the ocean is their church, and it's where the stress of the world is washed away in the waves. It's a place of good vibes, where they're reminded of who they are, just a pure being, a child of the divine. And surfers say that every time they go surfing, it's like a baptism and a renewal of their soul. Church is where your ego cannot lie to you anymore. You're not what society labels you. You're not a what. You're not your job, your paycheck, your degrees, your looks, your achievements. You're a who. You are the purest form of your being. Church is where your soul finds itself again and again, and your soul returns to its original form, which is your childhood self. Now, if you ask a weightlifter would say that the gym is their church. Church is where you work out your karma. You pick up weight and you put it down, and you work out whatever is going in circles in your head, and you just get a fresh perspective on your situation, where you see what you didn't see before, and you get insight into your blind spots, and you have a renewed vision of yourself, that you are not what you see in the mirror. You are who you know to be true about yourself. The what that you see in the mirror can change in a week, in a day, an hour, a year, but it changes because you recreate what you see in the mirror every week. And every time you pick up that weight, and every time you're in your church, you have another chance to change and improve your vision of yourself. Now, gardeners would say that the garden is their church. That church is where they touch the earth with their hands, where they honor her body by grooming and beautifying her, and where they take of her bounty and receive from her abundance. So every time they look at their garden, they see blessings growing from every surface. And church for them is where they go to realize that their blessings are flourishing. And I hear this a lot, that many people say that nature is their church. And when you look at nature, it doesn't really want anything from you. It's just there to offer you peace, to offer you compassion. It's just there to love you. Church is where you go to experience breathing space. For some people, family is their church. Like, no matter what happens out there in the world, you can always come home and you have a place where you belong. And no one's going to judge you. You can be yourself. And you form deep connections with others. Church is where you go to have community. So in summary, church is where we connect with ourselves, where we connect with others, and with nature, with the divine. And we call church sacred because it's a place where we detach from the rest of the world and its harshness. And when God sees you sitting there, that you've come to this place, that's your church, where you and God meet. It could be in a glade, it can be the ocean, a park, in your living room, in your garden. Whichever place is your sanctuary for your soul, that place and that time will hold a special vibration for you and God. And then that place, whether it's physical or it's virtual, like here on Zoom, that's your church. Because church is your meeting place with God. And when God sees you sitting there, he's like, hi. And you're like, hi. I once knew a man whose church was a park bench, and he and God would meet there every day and talk about his divorce. And they'd just sit and talk about what went wrong in his 30-year marriage. And that was his church. It was where he met God. And for years afterwards, whenever he walked by that park bench, he would immediately feel calm just by being near that bench, because it wasn't just a park bench, it was his and God's bench. And whenever you spend time with God in one place, that place absorbs the energy of your communion with God. And when he sits with you, it leaves an imprint. And then long after you both leave that space, the space remembers that Holy Communion and that interaction that took place between you and God. And it remembers it for you. And some people call it an energy imprint, kind of like a footprint, where you and God once met on this park bench. And because you used to meet there, it's special. And that's what church is. Church is where you go to meet God. Your soul chooses its church, so you may choose a particular church for yourself, but sometimes that might not be where your soul feels the most connected. And your soul is going to let you know where it feels the most connected. Like surfers choose the ocean. That's where their soul feels connected to the divine. Weightlifters choose the gym. That's where their soul reconnects to a vision of themselves. Gardeners choose their garden. That's where their soul reconnects to their blessings. And nature lovers choose nature. That's where their soul connects to its peace. And those who are alone in this phase of their life choose community. That's where their soul feels like it belongs.